You can see my bracelet in there if I'm like right here.
Yeah, and you're live right now.
All right, that's bull.
We'll put that on the tape.
You see my ice, baby? Baby, you see my ice?
Yeah, Asa Luke in Sector8Studios today, here for an interview.
Hey, it's glad to be here, man. I'm glad, always this home right here. We're cool at Sector 8, where the magic happens, where I go brazen in the booth.
The first thing we worked on, Woke Up a Better Person, had this type of vibe going on, and almost immediately after that project, we started working on this kind of trap project, Supernova. And so I decided that after hearing your story about this, that we should probably do an interview.
Yeah.
To kind of like let people know the same things that I found out, because I kind of found it interesting, the things you were telling me about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got a little list here, some stuff we can go over, maybe to kind of get people on the same page as who you are, where you're at, where you're going, and all that.
My name Asa Luke, you know what I'm saying? Artist name, got that from my big brother. Shout out to my big brother, David. Yeah, so I'm number 10 out of 12 siblings, all same mom, same dad. My dad's a pastor. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she just raised all of us. Growing up, like watching my older brothers, like just kind of just use like all their stuff they had, just kind of soaked it in, just being like the baby boy out of all of them, like, oh, you can't do no wrong type thing. But I'm low-key watching them and shit when I grow up and whatever. Just molded me to show me like the things, do's and don'ts, you know what I'm saying? Like they always taught me the ropes and shit.
I want to go a little bit into your church background and how that kind of influenced everything.
Yeah, so I was raised in the church. Like I said, my dad was a pastor, so I was raised in the church. So God's always been predominant in my life. It's like number one, help with spiritual values, like spiritual things, like, you know what I'm saying, moral values and everything. While I was in the church, I was in the choir. My mom was like the head choir director, so I was in the choir, going to Sunday school, practicing like sessions and songs every day. So they kind of played early with the music too as well, like had a couple lead songs like in the church. So the church kind of is and still is a factor, like musically wise, inspiration comes from that, and then like just value wise, I grew up in the church and everything. Yeah, I'm a PK.
So we also want to go into a little bit about like school and growing up, probably even focusing a little more on the time frame when you got kicked out. Maybe like which grade is the grade that you feel might have changed or influenced your life the most?
So I said we was in Chicago. Shit kind of started getting like going left or whatever, like in the city, which still is now. We moved to Georgia. Well, while I was in Chicago, I went to a fine art school at a young age, so that kind of was already playing a factor in my life. It was like going to acting classes, dancing, like ballet, like the whole nine, you know what I'm saying? Music classes and shit. Like it was on the north side of Chicago, so it was kind of diverse. Like I was in the hood, but my school was on the north side, so it was like I was around different cultures every day and just like soaking that all in, just like being in a bad environment. But when I go to school, like part of my day, I'm like around so many different things and stuff, experiences different things from different walks of life and shit. So that just kind of played a factor. We moved from Chicago, like I said, because it was getting too rough. Me and like a few of my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad, we moved to Atlanta, like towards the east side. And during that time, like the music was just like picking up in Atlanta and shit. School wise, when I first moved out there, I was still like kind of towards myself. I wasn't like interacting with people. I still had a couple friends and shit, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't no square, but it's like I was like to myself, was like, damn, I just got pulled out of this environment to this environment. So I was just like closer to my family and everything. High school, got into high school, ninth grade year, kind of was still kind of like feeling myself out, you know what I'm saying, feeling everything. And then 10th grade year is like when everything just like changed like in my life to where it's at now. So 10th grade year, I was like running with my homie Polo and shit. He was hustling. I was like, you know what I'm saying, hustling with him and shit. And we got caught up with some weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying, a little misdemeanor shit. But we wound up getting expelled, and I wound up getting kicked out and shit. So I went to alternative school, and then like doing alternative schools like that time was like I already had like a rebellious spirit like for authority and shit, like rebellious vibe and shit to authority. So like that kind of like just boosted that demon, like just going crazy and shit. So got kicked out or whatever. Came back and I was just like, fuck it. Like I ain't really give a shit about nobody, like school wise, nothing. I was smoking, drinking at like 15, 16, like going to clubs and shit. And like that part of my life just really just trying to change everything. Just like listening like to trap music, like listening to Gucci and shit, like listening like that whole like era that shit was going on and shit. Just kind of changed everything in my life.
Let's talk about your trap life a little bit. Like your friends at the time, maybe friends that you thought were friends facing prison time.
Well, I still like my homies and shit. Like Polo, like right now he facing like some serious time for some shit I don't want to get into. But like trap wise, like my brothers was in the streets and shit, and they's like back in Chicago and shit, and like I'm like dib and dabbing doing little shit, like me and Rico, like, you know what I'm saying, like doing little shit, you know what I'm saying, like selling the weed, bags here, you know what I'm saying, running with like the coke and like all that shit, like carrying pistols on us and shit, and like hitting licks and shit, like doing all that shit during that time. I was still listening, like doing my music and everything too though, but like when I graduated, I graduated late and shit. But when I finally graduated and shit, I went back to Chicago and I was in the streets with my bro, and it was like hustling and shit. I got face whacked with a serious charge, like the fucking police and shit put like 63 grams of cocaine on us, so we was like facing like 6-30 off bat. By the grace of God, we beat that case. But while we fighting that case for like over 2 years, like I wound up like serving undercover, beating that case on top of that case. A lot of fucking high speed chases and shit. A lot of like dodge situations where I could not be here, either it dead or locked up and shit. So that part of my life was just like a trial in time, you know what I'm saying? Just like a learning curve, just like, fuck, this shit ain't for me. Like the last time I was locked up was like for like 3 months or some shit. And I'm sitting there and I'm fighting this 6-30. And then I'm fighting the case right there, and I just made a promise to myself and God, like, this lifestyle ain't for me. Like, I got too much talent. It's ain't shit I can do behind these walls. So when I got out, I just made a promise to myself, like, I'll never sell drugs again. Like, not ain't about that life. It's just like, it wasn't for me. I had bigger shit going on. So it's kind of like another flip that happened in my life too.
So, probably the category most people would probably be waiting for is your music. We'll talk about your music a little bit.
Like music history or just like music in general?
Let's start out with like now. Like, who is Asa Luke right now musically?
Right now musically, I'm all those things in one. I feel like my lifestyle just like really depicted like who I am musically. Like the early being around all the arts and shit, and then at the same time like that street life, like infused in one. So right now I say Asa Luke is just like a musician, not like just a rapper or, you know what I'm saying, sing like all that shit.
And also, like I mentioned from the beginning of this, when I had met you, it was with the track "Woke Up a Better Person," which was a very good example of like your now music, I guess. And it's more of like that feel-good style. Yeah. And we're about to release Supernova, which is basically a street tape or a mixtape of trap music. Mm-hmm. And when I had talked to you about that, I'm like, how do these two things what do they have to do with each other? because they're totally like opposite realms.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of gave me an answer I wasn't expecting, so I thought it'd be cool to share that with people. But like, why release this trap album right now when you have this whole kind of like new vision on, like, you know, bringing people to a better place?
I feel like people don't know me, and I feel like I came to you like, man, we gotta do this shit. Like, just show the world like who Ace Luke really is. Like, I feel like I hang around this crowd, corporate America, white America, whatever you want to call, that I be around like my brothers and like friends and like homies and shit in the streets, but all that's me. So I feel like this one I had to just let people know like this is me. Like that trap life, all that shit, I did that shit. Like this is me. So I feel like I needed a tape for the streets that represent me and represent what I went through. Even though I'm not doing it now, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still around my lifestyle every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm around all that shit. So it's like I needed this tape right now. As Woke Up a Better Person, like during that time, there was that season where I was like transitioning from like getting out of jail, getting out of that lifestyle, really like being inspirational and shit, just like tying back into like my roots, even though them are my roots too, like tying back into that, and like that led to Woke Up a Better Person. But right now it's like I gotta let people know like who the real Ace Luke is.
Where do you see yourself going after Supernova releases? Your actual album you want to release is going to be Space Boy Sauce, which will be your like new stuff. But where do you see yourself kind of going beyond that?
Beyond Supernova, I just feel like when the album officially dropped for Space Boy, I feel like by that time I'll be known enough. I'll be known in the world to know me, and by that time I feel like I'll be able to cross my genres how I want and like do the shit I want to do by that time. That's where I feel like I'm going.
Did you want to go into any like musical inspirations or anything like that? Maybe some of the things that helped you out, if like for other people that might be trying to get, like kids that are trying to get into this, and things that helped you kind of move forward in the industry a little bit.
And you gotta love this shit, man. Like you gotta love this shit with your soul. Like you gotta love this shit with your heart. Like some people are gifted, some people work at it, but like at the end of the day, you gotta love this shit. Like I really love it. Like so I listen. I keep my ear open for all type of shit. Like today, I was just bumping that new Ed Sheeran album. Like same time, like listen to Future and shit. Like so, inspiration wise, it's like so across the spectrum and shit. Like what I listen to, trap, pop, whatever inspires me, whatever feel like moves me. That's why I feel like I listen to and shit. Inspiration wise, like growing up, like listen to Biggie, Tupac, 50, like all that shit. Like I think I was like more mainstream, not like underground hip hop. But when I moved to Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, that whole wave with like Future, Gucci, like that whole little shit.
Excellent. Anything you want to close with, or?
Y'all just be prepared for like this wave that's coming. Ace Luke is coming. Supernova is already out. Space Boy Sauce on the way, and I just feel like just let my fans know, my supporters, like I'm in this for the long haul. I'm doing it for y'all.
Awesome. All right, man. Thank you for your time on this.
Nah, I appreciate it. Sector 8, Guala Gang, GGE, man. Y'all were looking out for us. Yeah, wait.